The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
So, Julia, you've just walked across my plot.
Yes. I just walked through your plot because it's the easy route to the toilets on site.
And what did you say?
And I said when I came back through the back passage, it was so cloudy from all of your burning that I felt like I was coming through the doors on stars in your eyes.
Well, okay, tonight, Matthew, who are you and what are we?
Oh, who would you be?
No, who actually are you?
Who are you?
You haven't done that bit yet.
Right, okay, well, no, I just thought people just know by now because it is season 2, episode 37.
Yeah, and you're Elaine.
I am, and tonight, Julia,
Yes.
I'm going to be me.
You're going to be like the Potty Plotters?
Yeah, I am, really. It's no difference, actually.
No, well, all right then. Well,
What about you?
Well, I'll be me then. I'll be Julia, but, you know, since I came through the clouds, or whatever, the clouds, I suppose I could have been Alison Moyet or something like that.
Yeah, but you
All
can't
cried
sing.
out.
No, I can't sing. Yeah,
All
I am
cried
cried
out.
out, yeah. Well, I was crying because of all the steam and smoke in my eyes.
Oh, sorry
Who
about
did
that.
smoke gets in your eyes? That was ye oldie singerist, wasn't it? I'll Google it. in a minute.
Anyway, if you've not guessed, actually,
What?
it is our burning season on site, and I have to say
Have you
that
got a burning issue?
Yeah,
In which
we have.
case, go to the doctors.
we've been for a burning week, haven't we, Elaine?
Yeah, it's been dead good actually because we get rid of all the things like the oddments of wood that are lying around that has to
All
go.
the diseased plants, which we've had a few this year.
I've just chopped down some perennials actually and put those in as well. So yeah, I've got through quite a lot.
Good, well
Any
done.
bodies?
No, not yet, but I am thinking. Actually, I've shared it already with Julia of doing a murder on the plots game.
Is that a bit like Cluedo?
That's exactly what I said to Julia.
Yes.
It is a bit like Cluedo, but different.
Only it's not in a house, and we've got no Professor Plum.
No, but we have got Kev Plot too.
Kev Plot 2 with the chainsaw in the orchard.
It could well be, yeah, but that's what I've been twiddling around with of late. I think it could be a goer, actually.
Bit like a murder mystery night.
Have you just given that big idea away that we've had now? Everybody will go and create this, and that's our millions gone again.
Yeah.
Every
keeps doing
time.
this, doesn't she?
Every time we have these genius ideas, you tell someone, and then they do it ahead of us now.
And I suppose what we could do, though, Julia, thinking about it on marketing, you could actually link the podcast so that people have got to listen to the podcast in order to know who the characters are, etc. Just
Well, there's the
saying,
thing
is
for
that your job, actually, Gareth?
There's a thing for season 3.
There you
Yeah.
go. That would be funny.
We could do like a Monopoly version of a version of Monopoly, because
Yeah.
they do like localised monopolies for each town and city,
Yeah.
don't they? So we could do one for the plots.
Yeah.
Why not?
Don't pass the community hub. Don't collect £200.
Yeah.
If you get stuck in
200
this,
seeds.
you could turn it into something. Watch this space.
Listen to this space.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Right then, carry on talking, Gareth.
Okay, so if you've got any questions, or if you know who Kev murdered on the orchard with the chainsaw, then get in touch on Facebook, Instagram and X at Potty Plotters. You can go to the TikTok at The Potty Plotters, email us naughtycorner at pottyplotters.uk, or check out the website pottyplotters.uk.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters.
And people have.
Have they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have we got any suggestions about who Kev could
No,
kill?
not yet. That's
Okay,
only going out
okay.
today now.
Okay.
You watch what happens there, Gareth. People will put peculiar messages on, and other people who don't listen to this won't understand it. But then we don't anyway, so it don't matter. Anyway, so from Pat.
I'm
I've had to
now
write this
dreading
down.
the messages that we're going to get.
Gareth, I know how precious you are about your hands, and that's
Yeah.
understandable in the job, but you see, I should have told you this a little bit earlier, because you see, we've been eating, people don't know this, but we've been eating chocolate biscuits, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
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 And Gareth had it on his hands.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
That's now under his chin. Actually, it's quite fun, isn't it? Just sitting
But now
watching.
you've told him. It would have been funny if you'd have left him out.
I know,
and
but
going
it
out
was
with
on
it
his hand, and I
right.
thought, now
okay.
he's put his hand under his chin.
Have I got rid of it all now?
I'm not
Yeah.
spitting on you like your mother would have.
Have I got
No,
rid of
not
it?
doing that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's only a little
Anyway,
bit,
back
John.
to Pat.
What?
Come on. Back to
Yes,
Pat.
now then, I've had to write it down. What did Pat want? You sound like my husband. What did she want? Yeah, right then. So, Pat was listening to your podcast, including snapdragons. Sorry, I grew up calling them that. And thought you might like to see where my favourite plant is. And then she attached a photograph
Yes.
of snapdragons growing
up the wall.
Yeah.
Attached to the security light. Yeah, well.
Now, I've never seen that before, Julia.
No,
Did she train them to do that?
I don't know.
No. I mean, they
It was
are
funny.
very, very fine seeds, aren't
Yes,
they?
we know that.
So they must have gone somewhere, they must have gone to seed heads,
Yeah.
and then they've just blown in the wind and
Yeah.
managed to get in there. But I've never seen anything like that
But a
growing
tiny
in.
crevice, that's
Yeah.
what it's grown in. Now then, on that note, Julia, slapping my thigh.
Which is panto seeds.
No, we
If
are,
anyone
innit?
who's listening who can get Elaine on a panto stage, she'd love it.
Well, you would as well.
Well, yeah.
So what part? Let's pause there for
Well,
okay.
for the correspondence. What part would you like to play?
Any. I don't
Twanky.
even...
No, she's not burnt. She can't be widow trained.
I don't mind. I don't mind being any. But obviously, if it was only a minor part, I'd end up taking over. So
This is
be
true.
careful. Be
She's
careful.
behind you.
Yeah. I mean, we'd make great ugly sisters, wouldn't we? Let's face it.
Do
So
it.
there's a panto that goes on in Derby that's written by the director Morgan Brind every year.
Oh,
that
yeah.
goes on at the arena, and he has a succession of local celebrities.
Oh,
Well,
that
it's
appear-
I'm not really sure where that, really.
No.
Oh, I don't know. You should see some of the people he has in it. So consequently, I think next year we should campaign to get you two in it.
Yeah.
Because we're a bit late this year
funny.
because it's already the adverts for Cinderella are already up around the town. So Mina Anwar, who used to be in the Thin Blue Line,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
so she's in Cinderella this year. So it can't be Cinderella
Can't be
next year.
yours.
So it won't be the Ugly Sisters, will it, next year? So, but I think we should campaign to get you in next year.
Yeah, that's it. That's where I'll be.
Yeah, so that's next year's little.
You're busy.
That's next year's project, learning
That's
your lines.
it, yeah. I don't mind that.
No.
I make them up anyway. You know what we're like with scripts.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Back to the script.
So I wanted to ask Julia actually a question about snapdragons.
Yeah.
Because as you know, I've just been having my bonfire and I've started to take out different bits and pieces of the allotment, like scabious, that they're over now, and so on. And then I thought, what should I do with my snapdragons?
Well, depends what
What
you
are you
want.
doing with yours?
Well, what I've done is I've cut the seed heads off.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saving the seeds, but I have cut the seed heads off, and then I've put the rest of it into the composter, but I've not put the seed heads.
So you've actually dug up the plants?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Because those plants aren't going to grow again, but what they will do is drop the seeds so that new ones will come next
the
year.
side of
So
them.
yeah, and like
right,
I said,
okay.
mine were absolutely covered in rust, but the ones in the polytunnel are doing fantastic. So you
So
know,
what are you going to do with them then? You've put them in the polytunnel.
Yeah.
You've grown them in the polytunnel. Now what?
well, I'm leaving them in the polytunnel, and I'm just seeing how long I can keep them going. It's just an
okay.
experiment to see how many times I can keep cutting off them, and at what point they kind of die off. Really,
All year round snapdragons.
yeah.
Could be part of the new Monopoly
Well,
Cluedo game.
I mean, we've already said, haven't we, that
Julia in the polytunnel with the snapdragon.
with the cucumber, I'm going to whack someone across the head. Eat the evidence.
she's there, isn't she? Right, okay.
I've
then.
not
Taught her well, haven't
I've
you?
not thought it through at all, but
But
yeah.
you have, haven't you?
Yeah.
Right then, and now then, Tracy at Homely Gardens, she's attached a photograph of socks on her cobs of corn. You know,
Perfect.
we were telling
Oh, yeah.
everybody about.
Yeah.
Everybody's got an odd sock.
Yes.
Put it on your cobs when they're growing on
Yeah.
the corn.
Yeah.
It works wonders.
It's brilliant. All these sock trees that we've had around site, it's very funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it also stops the magpies, the squirrels, the rats, anything else that wants to eat
Yeah.
them, eating them. So why not? And
Yeah.
it is good use of that one sock. Although I bet you she finds the other socks now that she's had that one outside sticking on a corn on the cob.
Well, it keeps the sock industry going, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what it's all about, she says. And one from Mandy,
Oh,
who
yeah.
we know, obviously. And she says, little question. I've followed Julia's advice. This
Oh,
is about
God.
you.
Oh,
then,
God, yeah.
Julia's advice. And have
Here we
grown
go.
some borlotti beans and have
Yes.
been drying the pods.
Yes.
As I remember, we can use the beans in casseroles and save them for winter.
Yep.
I just wanted to check if I can also save some seeds for next year. Are they okay, though, for use in cooking as well? So
Yep, yeah, exactly
now
the same.
I noticed that you scuttled off and you've gone and got some borlotti beans.
Yeah, so I can't quite hear
Pods.
these because these were just
very
drying off.
quiet.
Yeah, they're not quite rattling yet. So I have been leaving mine to dry on the plant because that's what you want to do with them for
Yeah.
as long as possible. This one was changed to brown, so it had obviously dried off. I thought
So it's moved from that pink colour.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's lost all the colour. medlar, and if I leave it a couple of days, it'll dry out a little bit more inside, and I'll be able to pod them, and then the seeds will be inside. Now, I can save those seeds for next year. I can save some of those seeds for next year, and I can also pop some in a container with a sealed top, and I shall just use them in cooking over the winter. So I can use them straight into the casserole or whatever stew I'm doing. And as long as it's cooking for about 3 or 4 hours, they'll come out nice and soft. But if you're going to do them and it's something that's not going to be on as long as that, what I would do is pop them in a bit of water just to soften them to start off with.
What, boil them?
No, just pop them in water. Yeah, just to soften them, and then you can use them. Say if you were only cooking them for half an hour, they'd be quite hard still. Whereas if you're cooking them for 3 hours in a dish, they're going to get cooked down anyway. So it depends how you want them, really.
So they're quite versatile then, aren't they?
They're very versatile, because if I'd have not had other French beans growing, of course you can take these off the plant and you can slice them before the beans develop, and they taste just like a French bean, like the green beans, the squeaky beans as we call them as well. So they are a really versatile bean, and something that you can make use of over the winter.
So they're not poisonous then?
No.
Oh.
No, why would I tell someone about something, and why would we grow something that's poisonous, you donkey?
Julia with the borlotti bean anywhere in the world. We've got a thing going on with this, haven't we? The makers of Cluedo are going to be coming after us at this rate.
I was under the impression, though, kidney beans.
Yes.
Don't you have to do something special with kidney beans?
You soak them. You can normally soak them before you have them, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it's all about, soaking them.
Yeah, so it's about the length of time that they've been cooked down, I think. So.
Oh, you put "I think" on the end.
No.
That's Julia's get out of the Monopoly jail-free card.
No, I don't think I know. I know, yeah. Right. So if you've got them, if they've been cooked, but it's more about taste and texture, that is, than the fact that it's poisonous or anything. It's about the fact that...
when we're at the inquest...
You'll claim not to know me. Gareth will claim never to have met me.
I think what you need to do is be a little bit more certain when you get to the inquest, so they don't try and catch you out.
Just saying.
Just go online if you don't believe me.
Are borlotti beans poisonous?
No, they are not. Otherwise, they would not sell them.
No, and I know that you do use a lot of them, don't you?
Yeah.
That one's a little more rattly.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
That's nice.
So I'm just going back over that then. So they're a little bit more rattly.
Yeah.
What you would do then is pod them.
Yeah.
And then just put them on paper to dry them out.
Yeah, just dry them out.
Because if you put them straight into a sealed jar...
If there's any moisture... I was going to say, and if there's any moisture still in them, they'll go mouldy. So you do need to make sure you dry them properly. So, that's all you need to do.
Which is what we would do if you were using them to dry them as seeds.
Yeah.
Always dry them out thoroughly.
Absolutely.
I always used to put them on the windowsill, on kitchen towel or newspaper, and just leave them there for weeks. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, unless he moans about it, obviously.
But you can use the seeds for next year to grow your plants next year to save the money, because these ones weren't F1 varieties. So F1 varieties are ones that have been specifically bred with special conditions from different plants, and these ones are true varieties, so they'll be fine.
Okay then, well there you go then, Mandy, go for it.
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
And Gareth, I understand you've got a bit of an update on your garlic.
Yeah, so we did garlic, was about 2 or 3 weeks ago? 2 or 3 weeks ago now. And I did exactly what you said, which is probably the first time ever.
Yeah,
so I did
a first, isn't there?
Not really, it's a bit rude. So I did a mix of sand and compost into pots, because obviously we don't have any ground we can dig it into, because the cattle dig it up.
Yeah.
That's the 2 bits that aren't taken up by the bamboo. And so I put in 6 cloves of garlic, 3 into each tub, put a light covering of compost over it, or the compost mix, and I can report we have shoots. We have the green shoots of recovery garlic.
Wow, there you go. That's brilliant. Well done.
So We now leave it, don't we? Until,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what, leave it till what, April time? Would you
July.
July.
So
there's a long time ahead.
that's commitment gardening. That's it.
Well, it is.
Well, it
but
isn't,
if you
because
put
you've got to
them-
do everything with it, have you?
Yeah,
So-
no. And that's brilliant. So even if you're doing them in tubs, it is the kind of stuff that will give you some greenery, so to speak, but you could actually intermingle that pot with other pots. Nobody would know the difference, would they?
So we mentioned obviously not to water it in because
No.
it'll pick up the moisture that's naturally in the atmosphere at the minute. And we've just said leave it till July. What happens if we have like a barren dry spell at the beginning of the next season? Do we need to think about any care at that point, or do we need to just leave it?
No.
So it doesn't matter. They don't mind if it goes really dry.
No, not at all. No. And I've never ever personally, I've never watered garlic ever, but it's always been in the ground. But I would imagine that it's replicated in the pots anyway. So let's see what it can do.
Yeah, I mean, if next year we get to a drought condition, we'll probably tell you otherwise. But I mean,
if we get to a drought condition, I'll tell you now, Rob Rose, I'll have him round here. Never mind much more. I'll show him a drought condition. Yeah, I'm just saying, Rob, if you are listening, that's all. It was a gentle threat, that's all. Rob Rose, the weatherman, that is. I've got a friend, actually, and Robin, yes, and Robin, every year you can set your clock by, he rings up and says, what do I do with my raspberry canes? And I'll tell you what, one year I'll tell him. And this morning, ironically...
You ever thought of recording it, just played it back to it?
No, I just ought to put him on the podcast thing, really, shouldn't I? But got a stone under my foot. And Kev was up earlier on as well, and he's been up to sort his raspberry canes out. Right then, so let's start at the very beginning.
So
good place to start.
Was he starting? It must have been his summer raspberries rather than his autumn raspberries, because my autumn raspberries have still got
fruiting.
raspberries on them. Yeah.
Although Kev's aren't, and he's only a few plots away.
Well,
so there you go.
He's not doing it right, is he? There you go.
I don't know. But
I love the fact that Kev never listens to any of this and therefore has no idea
No.
anything we've accused him of or indeed said about him over the last 2 seasons. Apart from that one episode where he
joined us, didn't he?
Yeah. And we're all on our best behaviour.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right, well, if it is that you are doing autumn raspberries, though, you can actually cut them down from now on, Julia.
Okay.
But most people don't touch them until really November.
Yeah.
And then you can cut them down to about 2 inches of the top of the ground. And that is how you deal with autumn raspberries.
Right.
Now, autumn raspberries generally will fruit from round about June to the first frost.
Brilliant.
So
Perfect
you
time.
do get some fabulous fruit,
Yeah.
and I like them. I think it makes better jam personally.
Yeah,
It's
and
just
it's
a thing.
also a lot less messing around than summer fruiting raspberry.
much easier.
Why is
then,
that?
Well, it's funny you should mention that, Gareth, because we're now going to tell you all about the summer fruit. And the summer fruit you deal with completely differently.
So the summer fruit will crop on last year's new stems.
That's right.
So what we need to do at the back end of
Gareth's
it,
trying to work it out. Because once you've got it, you've got it. If you don't get it, you'll never understand this bit, do you?
So Gareth, when you come to look at your raspberries now in November, you will look at them and you will see that on your summer fruiting raspberries that some will have had bits of fruit on, and you'll be able to see where they were dangling off. That is the one that you cut down, but then you'll see another shoot next to it that looks like
Brand
a new shoot.
Bright green generally, aren't they?
It's a different colour and it's got no signs of any fruit on it, and they're the ones you leave because they're the ones that are going to fruit for you next year. So that's how that all works.
So what do you do with the one that's
Can I have the
had
multiple
the fruit?
choice test now? 'Cause I think I understand it for this second. But
Yeah.
go very quickly.
And that's why I think Robin always rings every year, because he gets confused back again as to when to do what, to do with what, whoever. So that has had fruit on this year, you can tell when you look at it, it is a brown colour.
Yeah.
The cane itself is brown. It's usually got little remnants of flowers and bits and pieces on it, hasn't it?
Yeah, where you picked your raspberries from it.
Yeah.
You can see that it's had raspberries on it. So.
And that is what you cut down to the floor. At the side of it, you get all these new raspberry canes, runners, and they are there. Now then, generally speaking, at this time of year, they'll be about 4 foot high. They are the ones that now you need to pin down, literally. So you put a cane at the side of them, or you tie them in to, if you've got strings going across from one end to the other, that's when you pin them in. Because if they keep wafting about in the bad weather, then they'll snap and then you won't get any fruit next year. It's almost like you're working a year behind and a year in advance, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's the same with your blackberries and the tayberries that I've got. So we cut down all of this year's growth that it's cropped on, and you leave the new canes for next year's fruit. So,
and if you cut this new shoot off, this year's new shoots, you don't get any crops, do you?
No.
I think I follow. Don't ask me any questions on it.
No, it's
you
like
will be able to see if we were to show you them and you looked at them, you'd be able to see
straight away
that one cane is much darker and one is much lighter and looks new. Yeah, you'd be able to tell, and that's what people are looking for when they're cutting down the blackberries, when they're cutting down the summer fruiting raspberries. That's what you're looking for.
And if necessary, we'll take you on to Kev, Plot 2's plot, because he's gone home now, and we'll show you what he's been doing.
The Plotcast podcast with the Potty Plotters.
Medlars.
Yeah.
Oh, where? I know where you've been.
You've been on the roll?
Yeah.
Well, not really.
Sort of.
Well, I've got new neighbours next door, as we met last week, and their plot is bordering another plot, and that plot has a medlar tree that is overhanging their plot, so I just whipped one.
We used to look after that plot. In fact, we created it, didn't we, to a plot where when people used to come to our open days, they used to come and have a look at what we used to do, because we used to use it as an instruction plot. So although we've got starters, we then had half a plot and we used to plant it up with all instruction boards so anybody could go on it and know what to do next. So that's what we did.
And we also set it up so that people understood easy maintenance, didn't we?
Yeah.
And also what the difference was between the raised beds and the non-raised beds.
Polytunnel, greenhouse. Yeah, there was all kinds of things. It was good, wasn't it?
Well.
But then we ran out of time, so we gave that back, and now another lady has taken it over. And we left the medlar tree.
So what are medlars?
What does that remind you of?
Some form of weird fruit in the exotic section.
No, you can be ruder, because that's what they're called.
You've got a cat, haven't you?
Yeah. It reminds me of... Well, no, I haven't got a cat. I've got a cat that lives...
It likes... Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Well, it's known, the fruit, which I've got one in front of me here that Julia's been and got, but the medlar fruit is known as the dog's arse, actually, fruit, and not a cat, but it looks like a cat's as well. Now then, what I'm going to say to you is, it was called that by the French. It's
they're weird, aren't they?
It's le chat la 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 thing. Anyway.
Can you do that again?
Yeah. Le chat la 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 la. Now then, Gareth, I'm just going to hand you that. How hard is that?
It's quite hard.
Yes. And that's the difficulty with medlars, because the only thing that I've ever made from medlars are medlar jelly. Now, medlar jelly is much sought after because there are very few medlars in this country, believe it or not.
I don't know. There's a whole house full of them down in SW1.
Well, there you go.
Cool yet?
So, yeah.
So what family does it belong to?
Apple.
So...
Yeah. And it looks like a miniature unformed apple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And dark brown.
So it kind of resembles, I don't know, crab apple style.
Yeah, it does.
It's that kind of size, but then it's got its bottom.
It's got a big bottom.
I'm trying to think what colour it resembles.
I think it looks like a pear.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
say. Yeah, like a russet.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned apple. And it pulled me away from sort of saying pear. But it is. It's kind of a pear skin.
And the skin isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
very
rough.
Yeah, it's more pear type skin than it is apple skin.
Yeah, definitely. But what you have to do is pick them. Mm-hmm. You pick them by the kilo, and then you leave them. Honestly, you need a lot. But what you do is you leave them to rot, and that's called bletting, B-L-E-T-T-I-N-G, bletting. So you let them go rotten, in effect, and they go really squishy and soft. And most people then would think, oh, they've gone rotten, I'm going to throw them away. But that's what you need to do, because you cannot get into them, and they need to have the flavour and the softness of the fruit.
So what do they taste of?
It's a very distinct, fragrant flavour, and I would say it's a cross between a pear and a quince, if you've ever tasted quince jelly. Oh, it's a really delicate, beautiful flavour. But when we did the wedding last year, we were talking about them to the bride and groom, and we said nobody else ever does medlar jelly. And she said, I've never heard of it. We gave them a jar and they loved it. So then we made it for them and they took all of it. So we haven't got any currently, but now Julia has got this one. And I think if we can get a kilo.
I think we need to have a word with her because she won't harvest them. The lady who's got the plot, she won't harvest them. So I think we need to put claims on that.
Yeah, and see if we can get a kilo. And then all we've got to do, as I say, is it takes a few weeks for them to go soft and mushy, but it is worth it. And all you do is you boil it all up, put it through a jelly bag and then add sugar to it, and it turns out a beautiful pink colour. Absolutely gorgeous, really. And on hot crumpets on a November morning.
Always thinking about your tummy.
I am, yeah. What's the point of not?
Contact the Potty Plotters anytime on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Potty Plotters, or email naughtycorner@pottyplotters.uk.
Elaine, you put planting replacement fruit trees and bushes.
Yeah.
Do you fancy a medlar tree then? Or would it take too long for you?
You know, I never thought about that.
Oh.
No, I've done crab apples. I've got crab apples at home and here.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. Yeah, could do, couldn't we?
Yeah. Well,
anyway, is it the time of year?
Thank you very much. See you later. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Is it the time of year now to do them, though?
It is.
You know, when people are now talking about, actually, Julia, there's 2 plum trees that are dead as door knockers
on the orchard.
Yeah,
and
because it's been underwater again.
Yeah, and what I'll say is the trees on site, the ones where they've quite old and have been established, they seem to have been able to cope really well with all this excess water that we've had, and it's not done them any harm. But the ones that are quite young trees, those plums on the orchard, they're just dead because they can't cope with that amount of water, and
so if we took them out, I mean, I wouldn't ever put any new trees there again now.
No.
But you were talking about taking a tree out as well?
Yeah, I was talking about, well, I've got that apricot tree that's not really cropped, but I don't know whether to take it out or not, because when we first had it, we had 1 apricot off it. And then we moved to this site, and I've had none since, and we kept it in the container. And I tried watering it, but it didn't really crop anything.
Maybe it doesn't like it here.
I wonder if it doesn't like it here, and maybe I just need a new one or something new in its place, because I would have thought something would have come off it now. And of course, I've also got my plum cart, which is a cross between an apricot and a plum, and I think that is much healthier looking and much more likely to produce something apricot tasting. So the plum cart it looks like a plum, but it tastes like an apricot. But the reason that you have that is Gareth's laughing. It's true.
It looks like this, tastes like this, so it is this.
But the reason I went for it is because, of course, plums actually come into blossom a little bit later than apricot, so hopefully that gives it a better chance of setting the fruit. But yeah, maybe that apricot tree's got to go. But I did say it kind of gives us a bit of privacy, so we'd have to put something in its place. But maybe you need a medlar tree as well, because when you go back to your question, is it the right time? It's the perfect time. It's the perfect time if you're thinking of putting a tree on your plot, or you're looking at getting some soft fruits on. Get them now, especially while you can get them bare-rooted. Because
and bare-rooted means
they come just with the roots. So what happens?
They're not in big pots.
They're not in big pots, and the suppliers literally dig them up to order. So they will dig it up, shake all the soil off it, and then they will send it to you while the tree or the bush is dormant, so that then you can plant it and it gets a chance to get established in your ground for the next season. But in doing that, because it's not been nurtured in a plant pot, and because they're literally in fields and they dig them up, the range of trees and things that you can get are much more extensive, and of course they're much cheaper. So now is the time if you are thinking about getting trees. I mean, so one of the starters was asking me about setting up some step over trees where you basically, you can buy them and they're quite, they're about
2 foot?
2 foot high, and you can get apples and pears, and they make a nice boundary tree. And
so
now
is
with
a wall.
It does, actually. They look ever so pretty.
And they're very productive.
Yeah.
And if you get yourself a 1-year whip on most of the plants, you can actually train them yourself. So now is the time to be thinking about it, Elaine.
Okay, so are you having any new trees?
Well, I've not started looking, but I think I might now.
Hints and tips for shortcuts to success. The Potty Plotters Plotcast.
Right, well, next time don't forget, what are we going to be talking about on 38?
Well, I've got the scripts here. So
shall we talk about...
Shall I do a live trail?
Yeah, a live trail. Look at you.
So, next time, we're going to be bullying Rob Rose.
Oh, yeah, love it.
And we're going to be talking about splitting rhubarb crowns.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And what to do with your squashes and pumpkins.
Perfect, because it's that time of year, isn't it? All right, then. Actually, I was talking to Kev Plot too about that this morning. Yeah, and I tell you why,
You see him
Julia.
more than you do your husband, Elaine. Is something going on? Do I need to know?
No, he was in the polytunnel, as I was walking by, and then we were talking about butternut squashes.
Has he had any this year?
Well, that's what he was asking me about you.
Oh, and what did he say?
Competition.
He said that he had, but not as good as last year, but he was very glad because he was sick to the back teeth.
I remember last year.
He did have a whopper,
giant
didn't he?
ones.
Yeah.
But then we don't mind a whopper, do we?
No.
Do we?
We don't mind a big one.
The Plotcast Podcast with the Potty Plotters is an Amberland Media production.